All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching me across the states in Nigeria. Saying welcome, welcome, welcome to another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. And they say the event of electoral disputes when it comes to citizens of the state should, react with patience and civility. And with all that is happening to us across the state, especially when it comes to Adamawa, needs patience and civility, and they should engage in peaceful dialogue, if you ask me, and follow legal procedures to resolve any issues at the moment. And of course, I must also emphasize that ultimately the goal should be to uphold democratic values and of course ensure the fair and transparent conduct of election, and that is what I believe that INEC should also be projecting at the moment. Again, I say welcome to another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener and of course the chief host, Kike of Atanda-Owo. And I think it's important for us to quickly hear what history has for us today. Stay with me, I'll be right back.
In 2015, an outbreak of an unknown disease in Nigeria has so far resulted in 17 deaths, each occurring within 24 hours of the onset of symptoms. While test shows that the disease is not viral, the cause has not yet been identified.
All right, of course, the cause of this disease was not, identified, which means that, we have a lot to do in terms of the development and, of course, the medical or the medicine and science in Africa to curb all those unknown diseases and, of course, prepare us for such outbreaks, because I feel that that is what on this day in history segment is reminding us, and of course for letting us know that we need to put a lot of things together in terms of research. I think research is one thing that we all need to develop on in whatever field that we might have found ourselves and all of that, so that we can know how to eat certain things when it comes to us in terms of reality. I think on this note, this is it's time for us to get a quick message from my sponsors. Please stay with me, I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. They said the Adamawa State's supplementary election has raised the dust of controversy in our political and, of course, electoral atmosphere, and the governorship candidate of the All Progressive Congress, APC, in the 2023 governorship election in Adamawa State. And Aishatu Dairu, popularly called Binani, has asked the Federal High Court in Abuja to stop the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, from voiding an illegal declaration that named her as the governor-elect of the state. And Binani asked the court for an order prohibiting the election umpire from taking any further steps towards the declaration of the winner of the election pending the determination of our application for judicial review. And according to Nigeria's electoral law, the resident electoral commissioner, which is Udu Ari, has no power to announce the winner of the election. That responsibility, they say, solely lies with the state collation officers who was appointed by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. So on the live show today, I will be discussing this matter with a consultant in this field, and of course, would I say, it's someone who have large experience across many countries in Africa and when it comes to election. And while he records quite a number of experiences from all of these African countries, it's important for us to actually throw light, when it comes to woman becoming the first elected governor of the state in Nigeria. And our electoral act was found in the entanglement of law, and of course in terms of the interpretation of law as well. I must emphasize on that. So what will be the ruling by the court over this matter is what I'm putting out there. Of course, what precedence is this also setting with all the controversy surrounding it is also what I'll be touching on. And all this and much more will be discussed with my live guest today. So, guys, let me hold my breath. Let me further unveil my guest today, and let's see his profile. Stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me while we're trying to, establish connection with my guest in our Abuja studio, Mr. Paul James. I think it's important for me to quickly, throw a little bit of light on this history that is about to happen. Allegedly, if she's being elected, of course, she will be the first, first female governor in Nigeria. And I feel that, quite a number of, I want to keep it real. I feel that quite a number of our men, so to speak, are not ready for this, because I feel that the interpretation of this is the fact that, many women will be vying for this position. There will be a lot of many female governors, and she is opening that for. So sometimes I feel that with all that is happening right now regarding the controversy, surrounding the Adamawa state election, is the fact that, also when it comes to culture or when it comes to religion, so to speak, where the some men believe that the women belongs to the other room. I've seen how our present president have also emphasized on that with some of the things that happened in the past to describe his wife, despite the fact that she's well read, and I just feel that with all that is happening right now, this is time in terms of the inclusion that the women are seeking for when it comes to the 50-50 being on the table, or even 60-40. And I feel that with all that is happening, I'm trying not to have an opinion, but the question is with the reality of our environment, of course, the reality when it comes to our culture. I'm not very sure that they are actually ready for the women folks to actually take a lead from that place, which means that we'll be having a first man, so to speak, in our history, which has never happened before. I think that, I don't know what the fear is when it comes to the men, embracing the women to be on that corridor of power in terms of governorship. I don't know what their fear is when it comes, because women multitask. We can do it all. Yes, I'm sure that many women who are listening to me right now will agree with me with all that I've said thus far, because, we are people there are a lot of women who are doing wonderful things at the moment. We've seen also Camilla as well, who is the first female president in America, of course. And we've seen quite a number of changes when it comes to governance, when it comes to also the corridor of power, when it comes to even in the corporate world and all of that. Look at most of the banks in Nigeria today. Now we have female CEOs, so which means that this is the time for change. If we are craving for the change that we've been talking about, I think that this is the time for men to understand that they have nothing to fear. It doesn't take away our responsibility in the home front. It doesn't take away the responsibility of our being a good mother. It doesn't take away the responsibility of our being a good citizen in the country. And I do not understand why all this controversy that is ongoing at the moment is what is actually, bringing this fear and, will I say, anxiety, or, I don't know. I just feel that it's time for us to actually, embrace that change and understand that women are not only good just for, preparation and the likes and all of that. When you say that, when you have when you point at a good man, there's a good woman behind him, I think it's time for us to actually be in the forefront. Why not? If not, you know, I think it's time for us to establish connection with my guest now in Abuja. Are you there now? Okay, while we are trying to see establish connection with our guests, let's go on a quick break and get a word from our sponsors. All right, many thanks for staying with me. Apologies, we've been trying to establish connection from our Abuja studio to Lagos studio, hence the reason why there's a break in communication. But quickly, Paul James, are you there? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Good afternoon.
Excellent afternoon to you. Apologies for the delay. But quickly, let's go to this topic at hand because we've lost a little bit of time. You know, I want to start from the conversation from the crux of the matter, because the candidate of APC in the state, that is Senator Aishatu Binani, you know, popularly, you know, who is popularly called Binani, you know, scored 390. Over 390, how will I put it now? She scored over 390, while the incumbent, you know, governor Amadu Fintiri, also of the PDP candidate, also pulled about over 421 as well, a little bit over 421, and there is a clear margin with all that is happening. So how did we arrive at the controversy of Senator Aishatu Binani being the governor-elect with all that is happening at the moment?
So I think this goes back to the election that was conducted on March 18th to determine the governor for Adamawa State. At the end of the election, INEC declared the process inconclusive when one of the parties, the PDP, was in clear lead with 31,000 votes. According to INEC, the difference between the PDP and APC, I mean, that there were 37,000 PVCs that were collected in the state in the locations where it either did not conduct election or elections were cancelled as results of infraction that happened during the process. So it ordered a rerun. The rerun happened on Saturday, April the 15th. We at YIAGA Africa deployed observers to all of the 69 locations that did happen. It happened in 69 locations that has spread in 14 wards of the 21 local governments of the state. So what we saw process related was first that the commission, whilst it tried to improve on its performance from the previous election, we still observed that it had a bit of logistic challenge, because by 9:30 in the morning, only 48% of those polling units had commenced accreditation and voting, meaning commencement of the process was low across several polling units. In fact, by 12 noon, we still got about 23% of polling units that were yet to commence the accreditation and voting. But when the process commenced proper, to some extent, INEC made effort to apply all the guidelines of the election. For instance, the beavers were deployed across all of the polling units that we observed. It is also only in one polling unit in Yola South that INEC deployed 2 beavers, but every polling unit had 1 beavers and they functioned optimally. Only 3% of polling units where we received reports of INEC not using the beavers to accredit a voter, but by and large, the process happened across all locations and it did go well. For the political parties, we observe also that the major parties had their candidates in all of the polling units. That is the APC and the PDP. And at the end of poll, the parties signed and collected the polling unit level results at the polling unit level. Now, the controversy about the election started from the collation. By 6 p.m. on Saturday, I received a call from our coordinator in Adamawa State, who alerted me to the fact that the INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner had moved the collation from the original location to another location in Dugeri in Yola Town. But that, along the line, the INEC commissioners that were deployed from Abuja decided that the collation be returned to the original location. By the time they returned to that location, it was time for the Muslim brothers to go break their fast. So they decided to reconvene at 9 p.m. to continue the process. when they resumed at 9 p.m., they were only able to collect 10 local governments. So as of Saturday now, we had the reports from the 10 local government, which also corroborated with some of the reports that we had received from the polling unit level. Now, they asked also that the process be suspended to resume on Sunday, April 16th, by 11 a.m. in the morning. But 9 in the morning, I also received another call from the coordinator, who also informed me that the resident electoral commissioner was about to do something that was never unheard of, that is unheard of. I'm like, what is it? That he's just about to make a declaration. So the commissioner came in cahoot with some corrupt or criminally minded security personnel, and decided to declare that Binani of the APC had won the election, that by the power vested upon him as resident electoral commissioner, he decided to make that return. The moment that return happened, as if it was all planned, Binani, on the other hand, was seen also addressing the press conference in what she decided to declare, or whatever, share her own acceptance speech with the public. So for us as civil society, we thought that was very appalling. It has never happened in the history of our elections. We called for INEC, that INEC should halt the process immediately, suspend the reg, call for investigation, and also nullify the process. And I think INEC managed the process very well. I mean, the INEC in the center, by suspending the collation process and then requesting that the collation officers and everyone that were in Yola, the principal officers, should come to Abuja for a review of the process. So what we heard was that as of Monday, yesterday, the resident electoral commissioner also refused to show up at the INEC headquarters, which prompted INEC to issue a circular in the afternoon of yesterday to say that the resident electoral commissioner should stay away from INEC's office in Adamawa State. So for us as CSOs, we thought this is very unbecoming, and to also state that we had raised concerns about certain appointments that were made into the commission before the election, and to see that this is happening now, perhaps for us, we feel vindicated, but also sadly that this is also happening and derailing the process of our election. There were signs before now that this could end up, the process could end up this way, with some of the sort of engagement that people had done before the election and the concerns that people had raised. There were calls before the election to move the resident electoral commissioner from Adamawa, or to stop the commissioner from engaging in the process. But then what INEC simply did was to move the ICT director from Adamawa to the center. Now, we thought INEC had the powers. As much as we know the president makes appointment, it is INEC that does deployment to the states. So we thought it had the power to temporarily suspend the commissioner from participating in the process, because there's a precedent. Before the election on March 18th in Sokoto State, INEC suspended the resident electoral commissioner. Before the election also, they suspended the commissioner for Abia State. We thought it would have done the same thing for Adamawa State. Just to also point that at YIAGA Africa, we issued 3 reports before the election of what we call election manipulation risk index. We had 6 variables that we came up with that we were tracking as part of the some of the things that could affect the conduct of the election. One of which we thought was INEC capture. One is voter suppression. One is history of election manipulation. And for the 3 reports that we had issued out, we had released, Adamawa featured prominently as one of the high-risk states, as one of the states to watch out for. So, I mean, if stakeholders are truly following the proceedings and also what CSOs have been releasing, I thought the signs were very visible before the election, but sadly, INEC did not act when people expect INEC to act.
All right, many thanks for that elaborate submission. And of course, you've been able to give us your own assessments with the nitty-gritty of what transpired on ground in Adamawa State. And of course, carrying us through the supplementary conduct of how proper elections should take place. However, with all that you've shared thus far, I have 2 questions for you, because I know that we are pressed for time. The first question is the fact that I feel that the State Resident Electoral Commission, Yunusa Ari, who pronounced Aisha Binani as the winner of the gubernatorial election in that Adamawa State, threw everyone into this mess, and as you've also you know, throw more light on that. But for him to have made this announcement, is there any indication that this election was rigged? And the reason why I'm asking this is because could it have been that the people of Adamawa really entrusted their votes to her with all that is happening right now? Is the first question I'm asking you right now. And the second question is the fact that I feel that, you know, Mrs. Aisha Binani, you know, her speech, you know, for me changed a lot in the equation of things. What do I mean by that? You know, we have had similar instances in the past where we should have learned from, if you ask me, when it comes to history, you know, teaching us certain things. But you know, in Nigeria, we actually don't pay attention. MK Abiola declaring himself president-elect, you know, led to so many unwanted crises at the time. We now have INEC, you know, who is the sole right to declare person the winner of election in our country. So my question now is, how will the acceptance speech of Aisha likely change the turnout of the events going forward?
So the first is about whether or not the election was rigged. First, I thought for me there was not even point going through this whole process of supplementary election. The whole point here is because INEC is not consistent in its own in the application of its own laws, in the way and manner it reviews the process. If you go to the story from Enugu State, the difference between the two major parties was 3,000 votes, and INEC made a declaration. If you go to Kaduna State, the difference is just 10,000 votes, they made a declaration. In Ogun State, 19,000 votes, they made a declaration. Why Adamawa? And that's the question that everybody had been asking. From the first election that happened, the major concern was the Fufore local government, where there were allegations that, I mean, it was a place of interest both for the governor and also for the opposition party. So it was the concern from the elections in Fufore that they decided to review, that INEC also went ahead to look at the other instances where there were infractions or elections they didn't hold, and made INEC to declare the process inconclusive. But having said that, that was for the first election. Going into this election, like I had mentioned, largely the process went well, because other than INEC starting the process late, I said the beavers was used in every location. Results were uploaded on the INEC election results, very important. For us as CSOs, we're able to document the results for 60 of the 69 locations. And of course, we know which of the parties is already winning from those locations. So I think it was a grand scheme to just derail the process, to disrupt the process. It wasn't like the parties are not aware of what is supposed to happen. What they did is to exploit Section 149 of the Electoral Act that says if a return is made by an INEC official, the courts will be the only ones to reverse it. That was what they tried to explore, but not also knowing that on other aspect of the law, Section 64 and 65 of the Electoral Act, it grants INEC the permission to also review results that are declared under duress. So as far as the INEC in the center headquarters is concerned, it has a power vested upon it by the law to do what it did yesterday, to annul the process. The biggest concern for me, the biggest challenge here is the too much indiscretion that is vested in INEC, especially INEC in the state. This also goes back to appointment. These people are appointed by the parties in power. Of course, you also when you begin to think about who they report to, that is where we may begin to find some of these answers. But beyond that, the question about what Binani did, I thought it is for me. I sincerely didn't expect that she will do that. I know there is the expression from the two camps. One camp to assert their power, that they still have the control of the state. In the other hand, there is that expression to see that a party installed the first female governor, if you like, in the country.
Oh, James, Mr. Paul, are you there? Are you there?
I am here.
All right, fantastic submission thus far, you know, and I like the fact that you are talking about the pressure that she's in, which was one of my conversations yesterday night, you know, which I felt that let's put an opposite scenario, that she had the major votes and was able to, and was declared the winner. Do you think that the political elite in Nigeria are going to allow this to happen, knowing that, you know, with all that is happening at the moment, we need to be fair to look at the political angles of all of this story, even from what you've shared thus far. But before I go further to ask you my question, I think it's important for me to quickly open our phone lines because we are really, behind schedules. For those who are just tuning in, this is Real Talk with Kike, and of course, I have Paul James, the head of election in YIAGA Africa, who have been throwing light on the topic at hand regarding, Adamawa's supplementary election, and of course the INEC, and of course the law as well, which is important because I feel that the legal aspect of it is what most people are not actually paying attention to. So we're streaming live on Facebook and of course on YouTube page, both on Real Talk with Kike and on Silverbird platform. But remember that the number to call to be part of this conversation is 080-988-77400. Is showing on your screen right now. Mr. Paul, let me come to you again. I feel that looking at electoral act that was amended in 2022 and the bill which was passed last year, since then we've had many court disputes afterward because of the constitutional provision in the electoral laws, which was part of the things I feel that we need to pay attention when it comes to the legal aspect of the issue at hand. We had Osun State election, we have the presidential, which is still ongoing in court at the moment. We don't know what the outcome will be. But my question is, Mahmood Yakubu's INEC boasted that it had tested the law in the by-elections in Osun and of course in Ekiti, and that's during the scheduled 2023 general election. INEC would put all these reforms into effect. Did INEC do due diligence with all your investigation thus far, with all that is happening right now in terms of the testing of the laws? Second is the fact that do they also promise the beavers would work for electronic transmission? The answer is yes. So did INEC, I'm asking you now, did they live up to its mandate?
Adamawa election, I think to some extent, INEC improved on this engagement of the process. But let us make one thing clear. The process in Adamawa is not concluded, has not been concluded before the declaration was made. So that process needs to be concluded before you declare a winner. Concluded in the sense that the returning officer is yet to make a return. Section 25 of the Electoral Act has stated who should be a returning officer, a person appointed by INEC to make a return from an election. If you go to section 64 and 65 of the Electoral Act, it also speaks to where there are concerns from the election and what the returning officer should do. It is not the role or the prerogative of the INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner to do a return. So that is an illegality that first has to be addressed. Now, on the other part, the use of technology, I think to a large extent, the technology on its own, of course, will not function except with the human element. The human element has remained a challenge so far from the election that was conducted in 2023. But for the Adamawa election, at least from those 69 locations that election were conducted, INEC transmitted the results on the INEC election results viewing portal. I viewed some of the results even just after the elections on Saturday. So I sincerely don't know where this confusion or commotion is coming from. It is simply the work of some mischief makers, some people that want to derail our democracy, that want to cripple this democracy, that don't want to allow the process to arrive at the logical conclusion. So like I said, this process is not over yet. I saw a statement this afternoon also by INEC that the returning officer may resume very soon to conclude the process. So until we have returns from the other 11 local governments that are yet to be collated, before INEC will go ahead to announce whoever is the final.
Apologies, I have to interrupt your line of thought. We have Brenga from Adamawa State. I hope I heard that correctly. From Warri State, from Delta State. Many thanks for calling. What's your contribution on the topic at hand?
Yeah, madam, good afternoon.
Excellent afternoon to
you. Yeah, what I want to contribute that what INEC is doing there is not fault at all. They are aware of what is happening in Nigeria and even in the investigation. That man is supposed to be in prison now for a national result. He was not the one entitled to announce the result. So are you hearing me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
So that's what I'm suggesting. It's not proper what the world are doing. They people not to be putting in the session again. After filling for that in many hours, you queue. At the end of the time, The party will have the mind to we want to win the election. We are not everything they will call. Let us mature. Nigeria is supposed to be mature by now. They are not maturing at all.
All right, many thanks for your contribution on the topic, Ata. Sir, let me come to you because I feel that with all that you've shared thus far, I think that you should, speak directly on the fact that most people are beginning to see Maudi Yakubu as controversial with the stance that is that we have at the moment, especially with his interpretation and, of course, the application of the electoral law. So, are there mechanisms that I feel that you should throw light on in terms of checks and balances in this kind of instances that reduces room for controversies is what I would like you to throw more light on. And second is the fact that I feel that you cannot come on this platform and I'll allow you go without not touching on your profile. You have been a technical consultant to elections observation group in Kenya, in Zambia, and many parts of Africa. I would like you to be real, probably because you're on Real Talk right now. What's your overview on the development of the electoral process and democracy in Africa thus far with all that has transpired? And what part our leaders, paying to or not paying to, so to speak? What's your submission on this?
To your first question about whether or not INEC has improved in the application of technology, not trying to absorb Mahmoud here since he's the head of INEC, of course, a lot will be expected from him. There was so much investment that was done in this election, especially in the area of procurements and also the investment in voter mobilization to participate in the process. The 2023 presidential election, or February 25th election, by all standards, did not meet the expectations of Nigerians. It was the election that, of course, only about 24% or thereabout of the voting population were able to participate in the process. It was not a case of voter apathy. I thought it was a case of voter disillusionment or voter disenfranchisement. There were a lot of technical issues that happened that didn't allow voters to participate. On one part, if you go and look at the INEC performance in terms of commencement of poll, in the southern part of the country, southeast and south, polls commence very late. In the other parts of the country, votes commence early. So if you are talking about concerns around voter suppressions, those are the indicators of voter suppression. If you think about the ethnic profiling that also happened in some location, where certain people that looked like people from other parts of the country were not also allowed to participate in the process. So I thought for me, before we even think about going forward with the other elections, we need to go back and do a complete overhauling of the process and do a review of what happened in the 2023 general elections, one of which will be to compartmentalize these issues from election administration, from election security, and also looking at technology, the role of technology in the election, and also citizen participation. We need to interrogate and understand the challenges before we think about moving ahead. But having said that, to the question about election and electoral processes across Africa, of course, you will understand that contexts differ. For every country, what they try to measure progress is to look back and see, comparing one election, general election, to the other general election, what progress have been made. For instance, in Kenya, in 2017, for the first time, Kenya introduced the election technology as well. To a large extent, the technology did not work to the level that people expected. But in the last election that happened on August 9th, 2022, I was in that election, that technology performed optimally. And I thought INEC also tried to actually copy from what the Election Commission in Kenya did, from the voter verification processes to the upload of election results. For Kenya, it even happened at different levels. At the polling unit level, at the ward level, the LJ level, you see all of those results uploaded online. For INEC, what we only have is just the results from the polling unit level, not with the other layers, as we will see on the INEC election results being portal. But even with that, INEC did not perform the way that Nigerians expected them to perform. INEC has given a lot of assurances before the election that it was ready for the election, but we saw how things turned out. So perhaps as a part of lessons learned from that is to go back and begin to audit, like I said, the technological component of the process. We need to put this to test before any major deployment. I think that was a failure. INEC did a mock exercise on February 4th of this year. That mock exercise happened in 316 locations, where I thought for me they cherry picked some of the devices that they use because the devices function well. 316 is even up to 1% of the over 176,000 polling units that we have in the country. And even from the mock exercise, there were some challenges that we didn't pay attention to. For instance, it happened 20 days to the election, which will not even give us enough time to review whatever will have been the challenge from the conduct of the mock exercise.
All right, many thanks.
The mock exercise
many thanks for all your submission thus far. We're running out of time. I'm trying to make sure that we touch on all segments, and I must say, from all your submission thus far, is very enlightening and very educative. Many thanks for your submission. But before I let you go, I would like us to quickly touch on the last segment of the show that is called Trending Story. These are stories that binds us, that affect us as Nigerians. And the first trending story for me is the Achaf Hakimi, and of course his wife, that trended for a few days, regarding all the transfer. I don't know if you saw that, but basically I think I would like to quickly give my submission, because to be honest, I have a lot to say. But I don't know where to start from. I don't know from what angle to come from. But yes, there was a beginning to the Hakimi Achaf, I don't know if I pronounced the name properly, and Abok is his wife, and I've seen a lot of comments on socials, but people address it from the top. And I come from a place of experience, because I feel that quite a number of people who are giving their submission are not from a place of experience and direct involvement, with the fact that I've been divorced twice, and I'm speaking as an informed person on this matter. Divorce is not something anybody wishes, because there are certain things that I feel that people will want to avoid, I believe, but now reflecting on this case scenario, and I feel that, Hakimi met Abok when he was 19 years, and he wasn't as famous as he is right now, as rich as he is right now. I want to say that she's not a gold digger like people described her on social, as many people portrayed her online, and she's an actress, which I want to put out there, a model who had income and value to bring to the table. She can speak several languages fluently, French, name it, and the likes. And she wasn't picked from the gutter, because I had to actually dig deep to this story, and they became legally wedded wife with 2 kids. And I want to believe that being older, she also impacted his life along with the course of their marriage, because she was older and she was wiser, so to speak. As they say, when you're older, you're wiser. And whether we like it or not, there would have been ways that she also impacted his life, which I'm also trying to continue to emphasize on, in terms of helping him find a balance and, of course, family stability for the growth of the footballer husband in terms of his career. We have people like Ronaldo and Messi who have stuck to their wives as their career grew. However, I feel that people need to understand that marriage can go sour and divorce can happen. From my own experience, in my own, how will I put it now? I don't know, I'm trying not to even put so much out there, but in my own last divorce, I didn't ask for what I didn't invest in, despite the fact that there are quite a number of, voices that were saying that, okay, he acquired this while people were married. I just felt that was not necessary. I had my own working for me. I had to stand in my own. Stand on my own, and I could do so with many things for myself and my kids, so many. And so I feel that my husband never, saw me as a gold digger. He knew I was a woman who brings worth and value to the table. Hence, we had an agreement out of court. We settled out of court. We just went to court, to formalize things. And I feel that, with all that is happening right now, I just feel that, the spouse contributed to the marriage, and like I said, it's important for people to split on mutual basis. I just feel that many partners, they marry and they kind of leech on one another. And a lot of people marry a man, woman that will help to grow and nurture their dreams together, but somehow things happen. And we have seen examples in Jeff Bezos, and of course when it comes to Bill Gates as well, when their women impacted their lives and one way or the other divorce happened and they settled amicably. No one made a fuse about who parted with what amount and the likes and all of that, rather than women of today. That's my point now. That's where I'm driving my point to. Women of today need to understand that they need to have their value. They need to bring something to the table. They need to meet the men halfway. They must have a career. They must not become liabilities. And I feel that the Gen Z generation needs to listen to this and hear more of this, because I feel that, you know, with all that is happening right now, it's about what I can get from this person. You know, in fact, people marry for the wrong reasons today. Is it that because the man has money, or the fact that the woman is, you know, good looking or whatever, you know, for wrong reasons. That's the reason why you see that they get bored when they are together. Also, I also feel that I need to use this opportunity to touch on the fact that good marriages are out there. Successful and happy women in their marriages need to now start to speak up, to find a balance with this narrative of divorces and all of that has taken the center stage of our socials. You know, there are quite a number of people that I know that are having it good in their marriages. There's a lot of toxic and negative narrative about marriage out there that I feel that would destroy our society or dent the institution called marriage. You know, so we need to stop all of this right now. Truly, some couples who are having it good needs to come and start speaking up, start sharing experiences with the young ones that are coming up. I know that there are quite a number of people also who are just co-parenting, who are just co-tenants, but they are still sticking on to a marriage. But I feel that, you know, once you understand your partner's code of love, you know, in marriage, and we are ready to commit, you know, divorce is the little that that would transpire. I just feel that when I don't know if I should hold my breath, but the question is, like I said earlier, that I had a lot to share with what transpired between them. So when this happens to people, let me just wrap up my thoughts on this. Is the fact that, you know, you should try and not hate each other. You know, don't be filled with hatred for one another. There should be room for balance. There should be room for harmony. If two partners don't wish to continue with each other, so be it. There should be a place for their children, the future of their children, where they're going to be co-parenting together. There should be healing and room for co-parenting. You know, divorce doesn't mean that you have to become enemies. I wish the two people who are involved right now can see this and see a lot of positive comments out there to look for how to take their businesses out of, you know, the corridor of socials, and look for how to, you know, heal, and look for how to co-parent better for the future of their children. I don't know if you have a submission on this, Mr. Paul James. What's your submission on this trending? Yes, we have some time. Are you there now? I can see you.
So if you want.
Yeah.
I am still here, but I thought you had beautifully summarized all of this. For me, what is marriage without openness? What is marriage without transparency? What is marriage without accountability? I thought both of them are successful in their own rights, and then the woman actually, to some extent, just want her partner to be accountable to her. There was an allegation that the partner cheated, and then perhaps because there was no admittance of that, that was what led to all of this. And then I thought a lot was done, shrouded a lot of misery, a lot of falsehood in the marriage. So it is not something to be celebrated. We should go back and look at what were the fundamental issues and begin to address the issues. If we are not willing to be open to each other, if we are not willing to be honest to each other, in the first place, I thought the marriage for me is null and void, because there is so much falsehood in the marriage. I don't think this is something to be celebrated. She was already successful before she married him. But like you said, I think something has bound them together already, and that should be perhaps what will bring them together, to see how they could help to nurture the children that God have given the two of them, and see that whatever had happened between them now will not be a seed of discord, or will not affect how they bring up these children in the future. But I think you have beautifully summarized how we need to learn to love and support each other, especially in this journey of marriage.
Yes, many thanks for your beautiful submission right there. But quickly, let's touch on the second trending story that affects you and I, which is a strike from aviation company staff. This actually affected me from traveling this week to Abuja. But, you know, before I come to you, I just want to quickly, you know, dump this that is in my head right now, because this is not new. And the reoccurrence of strike actions shows that the government, you know, is not managing the situation properly. They gave the Minister of Aviation, you know, a 14-day ultimatum that is yet to be answered. And I just feel that, you know, there are workers disputes everywhere, and even in the developed countries, but managing the expectations of the people is what I feel that is key, and dialoguing with them can solve so many things. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a trainer. I just feel that sometimes, you know, our leaders lack emotional intelligence to be able to connect to subordinates or different sectors, to be able to manage some of the challenges that we are facing. Also, I feel that the mechanism of efficient dialogue needs to be put in place. I understand that this current administration are broke, yes, because we know that they are owing about 77 trillion naira. I keep saying the new administration that is coming in, I don't know how they want to clear the debt, but at least, and I understand that they might not be able to afford the increase in the minimum wage, but effective communication as a trainer, effective communication and dialogue with the aviation workers can, you know, remedy these strike actions that will not affect the earnings of the people. Already there's no ease of doing business in this country. There are a lot of unemployment that is out there, and yet the people cannot actually manage the expectations of themselves. You know, our people do need to understand that people do not trust the government on their word. So it's a sorry case right now, and the representative of the government and the minister should meet with the workers union to solve issues amicably. Unfortunately, I cannot come to you to get your submission, but I must say many thanks for all your submission, Mr. Paul James, for coming to the show and being our resourceful guest today, despite the issues that we face through technology, of course, connecting with us via Abuja studio. But many thanks again for throwing light on the topic at hand. I wish you the very best as you go ahead. My name remains Kike Atanda-Owo. Bye now.